This is Money Made Simple, the financial podcast that keeps it simple and gets to the point.
Just a note before we begin that the financial decisions touched on in this podcast, such as mortgage financing and reviewing insurances, can have significant financial consequences, and we are not financial advisors. We suggest people seek independent financial advice when making major financial decisions or changes.
Kia ora and welcome back to Money Made Simple, brought to you by Simplicity. I'm Jennie.
And I'm Liv.
Thanks for tuning in, for joining us today. We are back on cost of living.
Yawn. No, not yawn.
Unfortunately, this is an ongoing issue, and in fact, just in the last few weeks, we've seen food prices go back up again. I don't know if you've bought butter. No, you don't like butter, do you?
We buy a lot of butter. My husband is a chef. Yeah,
butter is expensive again.
Yes.
We've talked heaps about things that people can do to save money, spend smarter during this sort of cost of living crisis, but we think that people can do a bit more.
Yeah. So chances are you've probably done, if you're struggling with the cost of living, you've probably done a lot of the things that we've already talked about in, I think, episode 27. We did a two-parter. Stuff like cancelling subscriptions that you're not using a gym membership if you're not using it.
Meal planning so that you don't waste money on food you don't use, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is going to be a two-parter, and we are going to look at what you can do beyond that kind of initial belt tightening. Yes. Yep. So we're going to get people to think a little bit bigger and smaller, actually. But yes, levelling up on both the saving and the way we spend as well.
Yeah. And I think we'll also just talk about keeping your eye on the long term, because sometimes the decisions you make now, even if it makes it a little bit easier to afford stuff, can have quite an impact on the long term. So just kind of keeping an eye on that as well.
Yeah, you don't want to lose sight of that in the short term, for sure. We've got kind of 3 ideas about things that people can do beyond those sort of easy first things.
And this one's about saving, right?
Yes. And so we're looking beyond the don't buy a coffee every day, you don't need Netflix and Neon, those kind of things. Mm-hmm. And we want people to think a little bit bigger. The biggest cost in most people's weekly budget is either their mortgage or their rent.
Okay.
So these are the types of things where you can actually make some really, really big savings, but they are a little bit harder. They're not...
it's life admin, right?
Yeah, and this is the kind of stuff that I hate.
Yes, you get that head into the sand.
Yes. So I would be delegating this. But so we both own a home. We have mortgages. So one thing you can do is refinance.
Yeah, and so reviewing what you're paying at the moment. Often this will be an opportunistic thing, right? Like it can cost to break a fixed-term mortgage. But when it does come up, which often it does, most people in New Zealand, I think, have a 1-year fixed. Shop around, look at your options, work with a mortgage broker if that works for you.
So this will take a bit of effort, but it's totally worth it. You could be saving hundreds or thousands of dollars over the long term. If you're renting, which we know lots of people are, there are ways to save money on rent.
Especially at the moment.
It's kind of a renter's market a little bit. Yeah. So one way to do that is to offer to sign a longer lease, for example. So as a
so the landlord gets a bit more of a stable tenure.
Yes, They're like, yes, you want to sign a 2-year lease. I am willing to lower the rent a little bit if you're in a position to do that. But that's one really big cost. Another one would be insurance.
Yes, so house, car, life. We've done a couple of episodes on insurance, all the big things that people often most need to get insured.
Yes, again, yawn, boring. But my husband's recently done this job with.
So done a review.
Yes, done a review of all our insurance, and he's worked out that we can save about $140 a month.
That's quite big,
yeah,
isn't it?
It's not bad.
More than $1,000 a year.
Yeah, and it just took a little bit of effort. Again, it's about shopping around.
I would also go with an independent insurance broker who can review across the spectrum of different providers.
Rather than just offering the products of their particular provider. Yeah. So that's another one. Services, so big bills. We're talking power. Power's gone up again. I think the price increased in April this year, another 10%.
And gas as well, if you have both. I think gas went up something like 20% year on year, these are huge cost increases, all contributing to the cost of living situation, right?
So again, worth looking at what the options are. Unfortunately, I think this is the same everywhere in the world, but definitely in New Zealand, it doesn't seem like loyalty gets rewarded. So it's usually new customers that get better deals.
And incentives to sign up, right?
Exactly.
So use those when, if you're not usually locked into your power company or broadband company. review it just like your insurances and look to see if you can get it cheaper per month. You might be able to save $10, $20 per month by switching to a new provider.
Which adds up. I think John mentioned, the CEO of Consumer, when we were chatting with him recently, that if you do find a better deal, it is worth ringing your power company, for example, or your service provider and saying, hey, I'm going to leave unless you can match this deal. So again, a bit of effort can definitely pay off.
And finally, another really big cost, after mortgage or rent, and obviously food, is transport. So a lot of people pay a lot of money for their cars, right?
Yes. Cars are one of those things that cost you in lots and lots of different ways. So you're paying for fuel, you're paying your warrant of fitness, you're paying
for tyres,
road tax, you're paying for tyres. It really, really adds up. If there's a way in your life that you can not have a car,
hard one for New Zealanders, right?
Is a hard one. There's a lot of cities in New Zealand that have pretty good public transport. So it might be an option. I've lived in 2 cities in my life where I didn't have a car, and you rent one when you need one, or, you use the ride share sort of options.
Like City Hop.
It's just a really good way to save like quite a significant amount of money. So those are some big things, big costs in your
fixed
life.
Costs, yeah. The second idea that we have around this whole kind of saving more is using what you have, using the assets, including yourself, to make a little bit more money for you.
Yes, or save money. So if I haven't convinced you not to have a car, that might be something you could co-own a car with somebody and share that cost.
That could be including your husband, right? Like you could downgrade to one car. Instead of not having a car, you have one car between you.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Another one, and I love this one because we're doing it, is the whole idea of having a garden. And I know you can spend heaps of money on growing food. You do.
Yep.
So it can be not much of a money saver. But if you're smart about it, then just growing your greens or something can save you quite a lot of money. And I like the idea that you might not have to pay for those expensive vitamins or supplements. You've got all your nutrients in the garden.
But maybe keeping it simple is the key here, rather than trying to get all your food from...
We just basically grow greens, and we grew 1 watermelon this year.
Nice.
I was quite proud of that.
Worth it?
Yeah. The other one, and we talked about this in our side hustle episode, so there's lots more ideas about how to use what you have to make more money.
Yeah, on the side.
So
we'll just quickly go through this.
Yeah, is renting out a bedroom, for example. If you own your own home or you're flatting and you have a spare room, renting that out or Airbnb-ing it.
Yeah, we've done the former for years. Like we had a boarder for, I think, our first 6 years of having a house. We're still considering it now, given the cost of living is still a problem. But it's not as hard or horrible as you would think it would be. When you don't have a boarder. So definitely worth it. Like, can be an extra $250 a week, which, $1,000 a month. It's quite a big...
Yeah, that could be a total game changer.
Selling your stuff on Trade Me or Facebook Marketplace, kind of decluttering or flipping. We talked about this in side hustles. Or, as we also talked about, freelancing, doing some kind of side gig. I teach yoga on the side. That is my idea of paying for the things that I like massages and coffee. So
your fun money.
Whatever justifies.
So it's kind of seeing your time as an asset. If you have it, what can you use it to help with supplementing your income and working on that budget. So number 1 was looking at the big costs. Number 2 is looking at ways that you can either save money with things like having a boarder and paying rent, or actually make some extra money. The other thing, obviously, this episode is about saving. When your budget is really tight or you're struggling a bit financially, it's really easy to forget about the longer term saving things. So I think it's really important people think about that, like you mentioned, that longer term impact. But you could start small. So if you have got to a point where you've had to stop putting $50 a week into your savings account, for example, that's totally understandable. But maybe you could just put $5 in.
So
$10
instead of going
in.
to zero, go small.
Yes, exactly. Perhaps if you are thinking about KiwiSaver as somewhere you could save some money, like you're thinking about taking a savings suspension, rather than doing that, one option would be, so we've talked about this in a previous episode, that the minimum contribution amount is going from 3% to 3.5%, but you can opt out of that.
Yes.
So maybe just opt out of the increase and see if you can maintain the 3%.
Yeah. Because it's going to have an impact on your long-term future, right?
So, I think there's a few different things. The other way, if you can't put any money aside in a savings account at the moment, something really little you can do is, they call it micro investing or micro saving.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of that?
No. I like macro investing. if that's a thing.
I'm more micro. It's the idea that you're spending anyway, right? You're spending on groceries. You've still got bills and costs.
Yeah.
You can set your account up or on your banking app so that it rounds up transactions.
This is
so
some apps, right?
You can get third-party apps, or some banks will do it too. So if you pay $4.80 for a coffee, if you're lucky enough to be able to find a coffee for $4.80, it would round up to $5, and that 20 cents goes into a separate account, a savings account, which could then be invested. It's all these tiny little amounts that you probably won't notice, even in a fairly tight budget, that actually start getting siphoned off and into a savings account.
I think also worth just mentioning, like in terms of your emergency fund, we've again done an episode on making sure you have that rainy day or emergency fund, making sure that even if you can't put those big amounts up front towards it so that you can afford when a disaster happens, at least just keep it on a little bit lower. Say you can put $10 a week towards that. That's still like over $500 a year. To be able to build up that kind of backstop that we all usually need.
The other thing would be that if you have a rainy day fund, to try not to use it for non-rainy day fund reasons. So if you've managed to save that amount of money, popping that somewhere where you're not going to be tempted to buy the massages and the fun stuff. Yeah.
Or get a side hustle to fund that if you really can't stop that.
Yeah.
So those are our kind of top 3 major things that we think that you can do to save more. There are a lot of resources and tools around to help you get through this, like how you can save. So Sorted have some guides on saving and investing, obviously our favourites.
Yep.
Another favourite being Money Hub. They have a guide on ways to save.
Yep, obviously everyone has a bank. Go and see what services or functions they have. So if they're able to do this rounding up, I think there's quite a few banks in New Zealand that have that function. So that's just up to you to go to your own bank.
Oh, Money Hub also have another insurance compare guide. So that's worth checking out if you have insurance and you want to see if you can save, like you've just done $100+ a month on that.
Consumer run a site called Power Switch, which allows you to put in your power company and then compare it to other offers out there, so you can work out if that's a way you can save money.
So we'll put all those links in the show notes, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
And also just check back in with some of our previous episodes. We've got a 2-parter on the cost of living. We've got emergency fund episode and one on side hustles and how you can maybe earn more money. So
if you have tackled the little stuff,
things,
then it's time to think a bit bigger, and it will take a bit of effort, but it's totally worth it. Review those big fixed costs in your life. Make the most of the assets that you have, whether that's spare rooms or time or whatever it is. And if you can, any way you can, continue to save in some way. And I would say just pick one of those. Like if you're going to do something this week, just today, just pick one.
Yeah. Cool.
Start from there.
So that's it for part 1. In part 2, we're going to look at the other side of the coin, so how you can spend smarter.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we will see you next time.
Okay. See you then.
This podcast contains personal opinions and is intended to provide educational information only. It doesn't relate to your particular financial situation or goals and is not financial advice or recommendations. Simplicity New Zealand Limited is the issuer of the Simplicity KiwiSaver scheme and investment funds. For product disclosure statements, please visit Simplicity's website simplicity.kiwi.